of just go, like anyone can kind of just go and kind of hire them, let's say from the black web market. So one of the example is, let's say there's one man, for example, who wants to spy on certain few other people. What they can do is that rather than kind of investing time, let's say that person is not technical, for example. Okay, he doesn't know about what's Android mobile, what's iPhone, what's malware and all. What he or she can do is just go to the black web market, and they can kind of go to the portal where they can kind of select few hackers from there. Okay, and they can ask them, okay, that he or she will pay them, but these are the tasks that they need to do. They need to kind of hack this person. So they will just kind of give the ID of that person, let's say the Facebook ID, and they will ask the person to kind of do anything but get all the details, or get access to his or her mobile phone, for example. And now it's the duty of the hacker for hire, once they are paid, kind of conduct the attack on her or his behalf. Okay, so these are called hackers for hires, and how normally they are kind of being used for benefit. And lastly, which is one of the most complicated attackers, are actually insider threats, the malicious insiders, okay, of the company. So let's say there's an employee who a disgruntled employee, okay, let's say he has been kind of terminated at his last day. So what would actually you have kind of quickly seen, we normally maybe have seen in Twitter. So there were a few employees who were kind of very unhappy with the layoff going on Twitter, and they one of the guy, what they did was like they made some changes in the code, which actually before kind of leaving the company, which actually kind of it did a server outage of few of the Twitter servers, okay, over there. So these are kind of malicious insider, which is very hard to detect. And but there are certain ways to kind of detect that, let's say one of the, if there is malicious insider who is kind of trying to expel the data out. So it normally happens in the research wing, where the guys actually tries to copy the data source code out to the other servers, let's say Google Drive and all. So having DLP kind of control, data leakage prevention control tools in the system will actually help you to kind of detect those kind of attacks. Or let's say there's some kind of user behavior analysis tools in market, like Splunk and all. What they do is, like, let's say there's an insider who is kind of like for a year they are logging into the system with the host name ABC, and suddenly what they do is like they log into a different system, for an example. Okay, so in that case, the user behavior analytics, UBA, will be able to kind of raise an alert that this person is kind of logging into a different system which was not seen previously in a year. Okay, and from there we can kind of detect, okay, these are the malicious insiders, and the SOC team can kind of approach and kind of investigate the alert and try to see, like, if it is a true positive or a false positive. Okay, so these are the three things, like activist, hacker for hires. So what I mean to say, I'll just kind of note it down. So one is activist, other is hacker for hire, and the other is malicious insiders. Okay, so over the past few years, the trend for activism has actually emerged. A notable example will include groups such as like Anonymous, and there are other groups also like LulzSec and all. Okay, so this activist group are actually known for kind of conducting wide range of attacks. Okay, so one of the most one of the attacks that they normally do is actually which is called DDoS, denial of service. Okay, denial of service attack. Okay, DOS attack. And what this attack actually does is, like, let's say Twitter, actually, let's say for example Twitter comes with a law where they kind of where they are kind of deleting the tweets of a lot of people who are speaking against the government, for example. In that case, the activist group, let's say Anonymous, what they will do is, like, normally they will initiate a DOS attack against the Twitter server and make the whole Twitter server goes down. Okay, so the valid user will not be able to kind of utilize the Twitter website, and it will bring huge loss for the company. So these are the normal trend what is normally seen by this kind of activist group. Okay, and so those who seek to kind of gather intelligence now as a SOC guys, those who seek to kind of gather intelligence on activists, often resort to kind of how we can do is that we could have a team, let's say we can engage a third party which actually infiltrate their online meeting places. So let's say we hire, let's say CrowdStrike for an example. So they will have a team who will kind of who will try to kind of be friend with the activist group. They will try to kind of present themselves as one of the recruit that they can kind of one of the guy that this activist group can be kind of recruit for themselves. And once they get in, they will try to see the chats ongoing between the anonymous group employees, and then they will kind of let the organization know about that and these are the things they are planning. So let's say one of the good guy got hold of their meeting group, they become one of the member of the WhatsApp group, for an example, or Telegram. So then they will know that, okay, this group is planning to kind of conduct a DDoS attack on Twitter server, for an example, on 21st of May. So then the Twitter will know that the DDoS attack is about to come in next 2 or 3 days. And what they will do is that they will kind of purchase additional security controls for temporary purpose, which they will use to kind of mitigate the DDoS attack from ever happening. So this is how kind of as a SOC guy, we can kind of get more hold of the task that this activist or hacker for hires groups are planning to do against any kind of organization. Okay, sometimes what they also do is like they also openly share their plan on social media. Okay, uh, so we need to kind of also monitor those kind of chatters on Twitter or social media website or YouTube's and all, where we know, okay, what's the upcoming plan by this activist group. And the thing is that we should also kind of sometime also understand that most of the time they might not be like 100% wrong or 100% right. We need to understand what their concern is, why they're kind of uh, attacking the company, why there's a difference of ideological differences, and the leadership or the company, and it's not the role of the SOC team, but as the leadership of the company should kind of also try to avoid kind of introducing something which will create a massive ideological differences among a lot of consumer in the market. Okay, so that's all about hacker for hires and what malicious insiders means. Malicious insiders is something which is really more complicated. They can kind of have more impact to the organization. One of the common thing that we can see from the malicious insiders is that, let's say, the data exfiltration. The other thing is that when there's like kind of a layoffs ongoing, so there were several news in the market, let's say for Twitter, where one of the coder actually introduced they saw a bug in the code, but they didn't let the Twitter team knows about that. Okay, so these are kind of malicious insiders. So what will happen is that once that bug goes into the production, from the outside, those attackers, once they are like kind of former employee of the company, they can kind of exploit those bugs and maybe kind of get a control of either of the system of Twitter, or maybe kind of make the Twitter server unusable for a certain amount of time. Okay, so message insiders are kind of quite complicated to detect, and we will kind of see in going forward like a lot of forensic artifacts or network forensic artifacts, and we'll try to understand how we can kind of detect those kind of things in a more concise and clear way. Okay, so that's all about activist, hacker for hire, and malicious insiders. Now let's see what's the next thing for us to discuss. Okay, so we are almost about to end, and let me see if there are any other topics like inside the threads. Okay. Okay, so one other thing, let's have one more quick discussion about hacker for hire. Let's have some more deeper understanding of them. So the concept of hacker for hire is not something which is easily defined or because it encompasses various individual and people who are in different geography. Okay, and so rather than they don't work as a group. Actually, they work separately. Okay, and they can kind of normally be hired from black web market. So one of the things that they normally do, they also offer is like, for example, ransomware as a service.